The arena lights dimmed, and for a moment, everything felt suspended: the noise, the tension, the heartbeat of basketball itself. Then the spotlight hit the tunnel, and the crowd erupted into a thunder that shook the building. Because walking out, calm as a king returning to his throne, was LeBron James, the man whose name had defined American basketball for 2 decades, the man whose shadow stretched across the league like a landmark, the man still rewriting history at an age when legends normally fade into memory. But LeBron didn't fade. He evolved. In his 22nd season, he wasn't supposed to be doing this. He wasn't supposed to be moving like this, jumping like this, reading the game like this. But LeBron never followed the scripts written for him. He wrote his own, and America watched, mesmerized, as he did it again. From the moment he stepped onto the court, it was clear. This season wasn't a farewell tour. It wasn't nostalgia. It wasn't a victory lap. It was a mission. His warm-up shots fell with practiced precision. His passes looked sharper than ever. His footwork was refined in ways only time could teach. He wasn't slowing down. He was becoming more efficient, more dangerous, more inevitable. The crowd watched him like they were watching time itself refuse to move forward. And then the game tipped, and LeBron made the court look like a place where rules didn't apply to him. His first possession was classic LeBron: a probe dribble, a read of every defender, then an attack with the force of a freight train, but the finesse of a surgeon. He bulldozed downhill, absorbed contact, finished through 2 defenders, and landed with a calm expression that said everything. I'm still here. Against the Warriors that night, he dissected defenses like a master strategist. Draymond tried bumping him. Wiggins tried sliding with him. Clay tried cutting off angles. But LeBron manipulated every coverage with patience that young stars still study. A hesitation dribble to force a switch. A quick spin to punish a mismatch. A no-look pass through a gap so small only LeBron could see it. The crowd didn't just cheer. They reacted like witnesses to a legacy unfolding in real time. But the moment that broke the internet came late in the second quarter. LeBron caught the ball in transition, galloped down the court with a pace that belied his age, and took flight. Not a routine layup, not a crafty finish, a dunk, a violent chest-high above the rim smash that froze the entire arena. Cameras captured fans' jaws dropping in slow motion. Social media didn't stand a chance. The clip hit millions of views before the broadcast even returned from commercial. American fans weren't watching nostalgia. They were watching defiance. Against the Suns, LeBron turned into a passing demon. Booker tried guarding him closely, thinking he could force turnovers, but LeBron read every rotation like a quarterback dissecting a rookie defense. He fired cross-court lasers, threaded bounce passes through gaps defenders didn't know existed, and orchestrated the Lakers' offense with the ease of someone who'd spent half his life controlling basketball games. But even more impressive was the leadership. He wasn't barking. He wasn't demanding. He was guiding. A hand on a young player's shoulder after a mistake, a quick nod during a defensive breakdown, a calm word when momentum slipped, a smile after a big play. Teammates didn't just follow him, they trusted him. His performance against the Bucks became a national headline. Giannis came in with force, ready to dominate, ready to impose his will. But LeBron matched him, not in youth, not in speed, but in mastery. He hit fadeaways over Giannis' fingertips. He attacked angles Giannis didn't expect. He used footwork so polished, so smooth, that commentators paused mid-sentence. The fourth quarter felt like a battle between eras. Giannis pushing with power. LeBron responding with experience and brilliance. And on one possession, the possession, LeBron hit a turnaround fadeaway from the baseline, the exact shot that had defined his Miami and Cleveland years. Same form, same arc, same swish. The crowd erupted. The internet erupted. America erupted. And LeBron jogged back on defense with a smirk, because even after all these years, he could still summon magic whenever the game demanded it. But the deeper the season went, the more LeBron leaned into something bigger: legacy. He wasn't just chasing wins, he was mentoring a new era. His talks with younger players became viral. His film sessions were legendary. His mid-game corrections looked like coaching clinics. Reporters started calling him the professor. Teammates called him the brain. Analysts said he was playing chess while everyone else played checkers. Against OKC, he faced Shai in a matchup that felt like basketball passing from one generation to the next. But LeBron didn't let go. He showed the young star how much brilliance still burned in him. He hit big threes. He bullied mismatches. He orchestrated every late game possession. Then he found Shy after the game, pulled him close, whispered something in his ear. Cameras caught the moment. American fans turned it into a symbol. The king acknowledging the heir, but reminding everyone he wasn't done yet. Then came the night that felt like a documentary unfolding live. LeBron versus the Celtics. Boston had the league's best defense. They were built to stop players like him. They had length, strength, youth. But LeBron dismantled them with fundamentals that felt like watching a basketball textbook come alive. Pump fakes, reverse pivots, step-throughs, angled drives, bullet passes, and that signature mid-post fadeaway he'd perfected over 20 years. 38 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds, and one building full of stunned Boston fans who couldn't believe he was still capable of this. But the story wasn't just on the court. It was everywhere. America talked about LeBron differently now, not just as a superstar, not just as a legend, but as a living monument to excellence. Kids who weren't even born when he debuted now watched him as their favorite player. Fathers watched him with their sons, realizing they'd both grown up with LeBron as part of their lives. Fans across the country debated his greatness in barbershops, living rooms, classrooms, offices. His off-court presence grew even stronger. Charity events, school visits, mentoring young athletes, building community programs across the nation, supporting education, health, and youth opportunities. LeBron didn't just dominate basketball, he shaped American culture. But the signature stretch of the season came in April, 3 games that sealed his legacy for good. A 41-point overtime win over the Nuggets, a near triple-double in a comeback victory against the Heat, a 32-10-12 masterpiece against the Kings, where he took over the fourth quarter like time had reversed 20 years. The crowd chanted, MVP, 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 and they weren't chanting for nostalgia. They were chanting because he deserved it. Because LeBron James, in his 22nd season, was still one of the best players in the world. Not because of athleticism, not because of age-defying feats, but because of brilliance. The brilliance of a mind that evolved with the game. The brilliance of a leader who lifted others. The brilliance of a competitor who refused the limits of time. His season became a reminder to America, you don't need to be young to be great. You don't need to be fast to be dominant. You don't need hype to be legendary. You just need to be LeBron James. And as the season closed, with crowds across the United States rising to their feet every time he took the floor, one truth echoed louder than any cheer. The king was still here, still ruling, still defining the sport, still shaping the league's future even as he carried its past. LeBron James wasn't just playing basketball. This wasn't normal longevity. This wasn't curated narrative. This wasn't nostalgia-driven hype. This was greatness refusing to obey time. February arrived with expectations at an all-time high. Analysts dissected his footwork like philosophers studying ancient text. Broadcasters talked about his decision-making like it was a new branch of physics. Coaches used his film as teaching material for rookies. But LeBron remained the same. Calm, controlled, unshaken. Against the Mavericks, a younger, faster team that ran the floor with confidence, LeBron looked like someone who could outthink gravity if he wanted. The game was nationally televised. Millions across the United States sat glued to their screens to watch a storyline America couldn't get enough of. The king versus the next generation. And LeBron didn't disappoint. He picked apart Dallas's switches as if he'd memorized the defensive playbook. One moment, he bullied a smaller guard in the post, turning over his right shoulder for that high-arcing fadeaway he'd spent years perfecting. The next, he threaded a pass so fast and so accurate through a collapsing defense that even the camera operator struggled to keep up. The building gasped. The announcers paused mid-sentence, and the crowd erupted at plays they'd seen for 2 decades and still couldn't predict. Then came the dunk. It wasn't the height that shocked America. It was the suddenness. LeBron caught the ball in stride, saw a gap between defenders, and exploded like someone half his age. He rose above the contest, cocked the ball back, and hammered it with a force that made the whole arena unsteady. His teammates on the bench grabbed each other, eyes wide, hands on their heads. Fans screamed. Twitter exploded. Even opposing players muttered in disbelief. The broadcast commentary summed it up perfectly. This man should not still be able to do that. But LeBron wasn't trying to prove he still could jump. He was trying to prove he still controlled the game. A week later, the Lakers traveled to New Orleans. The Pelicans were young, athletic, hungry, everything people said should overwhelm LeBron at this age. But instead, he turned the matchup into a lesson. Zion attempted to bully him physically, attacking in transition and trying to overpower him at the rim. LeBron countered with angles, anticipation, and perfect timing. He took charges. He baited fouls. He denied drives with subtle footwork that only years of experience could teach. Then on the other end, he punished mismatches mercilessly. A spin move so clean it made two defenders collide, a hesitation pull-up that froze a double team, a step-back three that barely grazed the net, a bullet pass across the court in transition that landed perfectly in a shooter's hands. The Lakers bench didn't celebrate. They stared, as if witnessing something impossible. After the game, Pelicans players lined up to shake his hand like he was the final boss of basketball. But the true masterpiece came 2 nights later in Chicago. The Bulls crowd always had reverence for legends. Chicago respects dominance. And LeBron delivered a performance that reminded the United States exactly why his name still stood at the center of every GOAT debate. He played the slowest fast game imaginable, pacing, probing, analyzing, manipulating matchups until every possession bent to his will. The Bulls sent doubles early. LeBron beat them with crisp passes. They sagged off. He drilled threes. They switched smaller guards onto him. He took them into the post and buried them with textbook backdowns and fades. Midway through the third quarter, he hit a turnaround fadeaway from the exact spot where Jordan used to take over games. The arena gasped, cameras flashed, and even Chicago fans stood out of respect. Then late in the fourth, he made the play that defined the night, down by 2. Shot clock fading, crowd roaring. LeBron dribbled, surveyed, took 2 steps backwards, rose with flawless balance, and knocked down a three so pure the entire building fell silent for a full second before erupting. He jogged back on defense with that expression, the one that said, "I can do this forever." And maybe he could. But the story wasn't only in his scoring, it was in how he lifted the franchise around him. Austin Reeves played more confidently because LeBron trusted him. Cam Reddish defended harder because LeBron demanded it. Rookies listened more attentively because every word carried weight. Veterans stayed locked in because they felt the urgency of his presence. LeBron wasn't just producing, he was directing. Film sessions became clinics. Timeouts became huddles led by experience. Practices turned into detailed lessons on off-ball positioning, timing, and defensive anticipation. American analysts began saying it openly. LeBron is basically a player coach at this point. And the Lakers need both parts. Then came the rivalry game that carried emotional weight, LeBron versus Steph. America had spent a decade watching their battles shape the NBA, but this time, something different hung in the air. The crowd wasn't just watching stars, they were watching history. They were watching the final chapters of one of basketball's greatest rivalries. Steph hit his first 2 threes. LeBron answered with a powerful drive. Steph danced past screens. LeBron orchestrated plays with surgical precision. But the moment that shook the United States didn't come from Steph. It came from LeBron. Fourth quarter. Tie game, defender shading left, crowd on their feet. LeBron sized up the floor, took a calm breath, stepped back behind the arc, and launched a deep three that felt like a time capsule. A shot that could have belonged in 2013, 2016, 2020, or now. The ball soared. The crowd held its breath. And when it splashed through the net, the building exploded. Steph nodded, smiling in disbelief, because some rivalries belong to the ages. And LeBron was still writing his part. But the next phase of the season revealed something even deeper, his leadership off the court. LeBron continued his tradition of talking to younger players after games, not for cameras, not for narratives, but because he understood his role in shaping the future of the league he'd carried so long. He spoke to Paolo Banchero about reading defensive gaps, to Wemby about balance and patience, to Ja about controlling tempo, to Tatum about leadership, to SGA about timing and footwork. Every moment spread across social media. Every clip was reposted millions of times. Every interaction deepened his connection with American fans. Then came one of the most emotional nights of the entire season, the Cleveland game. Returning to the city where he delivered a championship, LeBron walked into the building with that familiar mixture of warmth and nostalgia. The crowd's reaction wasn't polite applause, it was an eruption, a wave of love that proved Cleveland hadn't forgotten a single moment of the journey he'd given them. Fans held signs that said, "Forever our king." "Thank you, LeBron. Changed our city." And he responded with a performance that felt like a gift. 32 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, and a deep corner three from the exact spot he'd hit so many big shots over the years. Cleveland rose to its feet, and LeBron bowed his head slightly in thanks. But the moment that stole the night came after the game, when he embraced every staff member, every security guard, every old trainer, people who weren't part of headlines, but were part of his history. The cameras caught it all. America felt it. And old fans cried because they realized they weren't watching a player. They were watching a legacy return home. The season moved into April with the Lakers fighting to climb the Western standings, and LeBron raised his game yet again. Against the Kings, he dismantled their switches. Against the Thunder, he played chess against the league's most patient scorer. Against the Rockets, he controlled tempo like a puppeteer pulling invisible